board games, board games. I might be talking about board games with Alan Paul, but we're not gonna shout. We are starting off this streaming with a bit of Bessie singing, and we are going to reflect upon the things that happened at Aircon.
Nice rhyme.
Alan and I will have a talk. Unfortunately, we can't do what we used to do, which is walk and talk board games and Aircon and comparing it to conventions to crowdfunding is what we're talking about. Aircon and comparing crowdfunding to conventions. I'm not gonna shout. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. It is 10 a.m. UK time. Time for Busy Beats and Board Game Blether. And this is episode 579.
Let's write that down.
Back at
579.
Aircon with Alan Paull. So Alan suggested a contrast with conventions and crowdfunding, which is interesting. Like, obviously, you've got the real-time element, the extroversion versus the introversion thing. I mean, for me, conventions are more fun. Like, if I could do crowdfunding, if that was the done thing, maybe I should do a crowdfunding just one day at a convention. Start the crowdfunding at the first day of a convention and then finish it at the last day of a convention. That would be kind of interesting.
It would be novel. Yes, it would certainly be novel.
But yeah, actually, I'm not going to do that. But actually, like, what would physical crowdfunding be? Because you wouldn't want to do the online crowdfunding because then you'd be distracted. You'd want to do a sort of physical crowdfunding and say, okay, for this convention, we're taking pre-orders.
Sign up at this convention. Well, it's interesting because I think that Kingmaker might be crowdfunded at the time of a convention in the autumn. So that, and I'm wondering whether they might actually.
But having both going on at the same time is slightly separate.
Yes.
Because then you've got the online thing, and presumably you've had the initial rush, and you're still kind of in the middle lull. And that means you don't have to spend so much energy on the one thing. And obviously, if you've also got a team, that makes it slightly easier. If you've got one person to manage the online stuff, and then a team to manage the in-person demos and say, hey,
if you're crowdfunding at a physical con, you can at least get to play the prototype straight off. You don't even have to have something online. You just
100%.
Which is good.
And Library Labyrinth from Descent Games, that was what they were all about, just getting sign-ups. And Ellie Dix, same with Ellie, just doing demos and saying, hey, play my Christmas card games and try them out. But let's step back a moment and talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. Right. So let's start with you, Alan.
Yes, well, the recent highlight for me and for Charlie is we had the grandchildren around for 4 days. 4 days! Wow. That was tiring. It's like being a parent all over again. My grandchildren are 7 and 5, so they are quite demanding. Especially as that came hard on the heels of Aircon, so we were nice and relaxed after Aircon, actually, as you are. And then we had 4 days of children. But it was great. It was great fun. They do energize us in a way. Tiring but energized. So very often we play games with the kids, but this time around they weren't that keen actually.
Oh, fair enough. No Hugo, no Kinderspiel this year as winners. No, I mean, they are pretty good games. A lot of those, I enjoy, and a lot of those you enjoy.
Well, we bought Savannah Park, specifically thinking that would be a good game for the kids. Savannah Park is a tile laying game. Well, the things actually, the little tagline says, "Help animals form big herds by cleverly relocating them within your wildlife park." Yeah, it's tile. You have a whole bunch of tiles in this park, and there are 6 animal types: giraffes, zebras, antelopes, elephants, rhinos, and ostriches, and all the tiles are unique combinations of them. You might have one animal up to 3 animals, and there's even a watering hole with all 6 animals on it. So all the tiles are for those unique. You have your own set of tiles in your own little savannah park, and you put them on your park randomly, one way up, and then the game is really, really straightforward and simple to explain. Basically, every turn somebody will pick a tile of their choice, and all the players have to find the same tile, flip it over, and place it somewhere else in the park. But the whole thing is on the scoring. You score by having you score your largest herd of each animal type. They have to be adjacent, as you can see here in this lovely example. Those rhinoceroses is going to score quite a lot.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, and you multiply it by the number of watering holes that herd also contains. So in that case, I think
that would be 9 times 1.
9 times 1, which is 9 points. But they're up to a maximum of 3 watering holes. So there's a maximum of 33. It's 11 animals of each
Whereas
type.
I think just on the top right, with the ostriches, you've also got 9 of them.
Yes.
But you've got 2 watering holes, and that's 18. That's pretty
18.
good.
Yeah, that's pretty good, yes.
But even if you only had 6 or 5, that would still be 10 points.
Yes.
And so it's really all about those watering holes. And does everyone have the access to the same tiles?
Yeah.
Kind of like take it easy.
You have your own set of tiles. Yes, it's like take it easy. You have your own set of stuff, and you're making your own savannah park.
And hello, Timmy.
Yeah, it's fun. The wrinkles for the adult version, if you like, are those little Bernie bits there.
Yes.
The blazes, the fires, the bushfires, whatever you call them. That's
zoomed in a bit too much.
There's a 1 and a 2 and a 3 bushfire tile, and if you put an animal with the same number of if you put a tile with the same number of animals on it next to a bushfire, then you have to remove them. So if you put if a tile with one animal,
beside a 1 bushfire, you cannot have a 1 animal.
Well, you can put it there, but it'll just get removed at the end when you come to scoring. It gets removed before you score.
And so you can put it there, but it's not a good idea. Sad times.
It's a very sad time, yeah.
And I guess at the end of the game, you might lock yourself into a situation where you have to do it. So you probably want to fill around the bushfire first.
Or you can just make a mistake like I did in the first game we played. So yeah. But yeah,
good morning, Alex.
That was one. That was one game. So
and Alex asks
for children, I think.
You quickly. Was nice to briefly see you at Airecon, Alan. Did you win in the end?
I did. Yeah. We were playing 3-player Kingmaker.
Okay.
And, I did the thing you're not supposed to do, which is to win as the person who's demonstrating it. Yeah, but then sometimes you just have to, And I haven't won a Kingmaker for quite some while. So that was Savannah Park. Although we didn't play it with the kids.
You have enjoyed it with adults.
We played it with adults. Terraform Mars Ares Expedition we played. We've just started playing this a bit more because Charlie bought it at Aircon. So we thought we'd give it a whirl. We've played it a couple of times now, and we're beginning to get it. It still takes us far longer than it says on the box. The box actually says 45 to 60 minutes. Yeah, not when you're learning it. Not when you don't know the cards.
How many times have you played? How long does it take you?
Well, I think I played a couple of times, and I think it took us a couple of hours to play because we were all having to read all the cards and work out exactly what we were doing. But it's good, and the time will come. The time will come down rapidly. It's a good little game. It's been described as the love child of Terraforming Mars and Race for the Galaxy because you have roles on the right hand side there. The roles you have like in Race for the Galaxy. So there's development, construction, actions, production, and research.
So both of these highly recommended from you.
Highly recommended, yeah, definitely.
And finally,
the last one. I'm a member of the History and Games Lab of Edinburgh University, and they have seminars. So we had a Zoom seminar on this this book, The Armchair General. Can you defeat the Nazis? And it's basically a well, the idea is that it's like a traditional game book, so it's not a history book, it's a game book. All right. So, but there's 8 scenarios in the book, and it basically gives you the background to the situation. The one you're looking at there is the decision that Britain made over who was to be Prime Minister in May 1940. Was it going to be Churchill or was it going to be Halifax? So you get a lot of background information, some documents and things, and you are placed in the position of advising a key decision maker what should be done. So in this case, the decision there, should you put your support behind Lord Halifax, the popular politician revered by the king, or should you back the maverick Winston Churchill, a wild card responsible for disaster at Gallipoli? So, and then as you can see, there's you go. If you make one choice, you go to one page. You make another choice, you go to another page. It's very much like one of those.
So this is really interesting. A game book themed around military history. Wow.
Yeah. And the session was by Professor John Buckley, who is a professor of military history at the University of Wolverhampton. And it was very interesting how he developed it, why he developed it, and what the purpose was, and who it was aimed at. And interestingly, he was approached by an agent to do it. It wasn't his idea. He was approached by an agent, and they said, "We think this is a great idea. Let's do it."
So, how come you don't have a physical copy just to say, "Oh, here it says," like you normally do?
Well, I haven't got a copy. I just listened to the. I haven't got a copy myself. I am thinking of getting it. Although bizarrely, there's an Audible version of it, but I mean, since there's maps,
you'd have to press buttons, I guess, to choose.
There's supposed to be maps and documents and things. And really, have an Audible for? I don't know how they do that. So I might have to get the actual proper book for it.
So, hello, CD from New Zealand, and CD asks, "Have you played Ark Nova? I just got it, played it twice already, and I have not played it myself. Alan, have you played it? This is like the latest hotness."
No, I haven't played it. I've been reading a little bit about it from Paul Grogan's Gaming Rules stuff, because I know Paul's quite keen on it, but I haven't played it. I don't think I've even seen it yet. Actually, no, I've not.
I've definitely seen it in real life. I think there was one time when I could have played it, but I didn't want to spend like the whole evening playing that. You know, I think that especially since, late last year, I'm kind of tending towards lighter stuff right now. I don't want to sit down and play something potentially for, longer than a couple of hours and then feel like at hour 3, I've made all these mistakes. I want to have the opportunity to play, and minute 30, like after half an hour, I realize I've made all these mistakes. I'm wanting to like play a shorter game where it's like maybe 1 hour, and then we can like play a second time and something like that.
I think it probably wouldn't fit into our groups either. Although we've got a group that does like playing longer games, but I think Ark Nova would probably be at the maximum extent, really.
Yeah,
so I would worry whether we'd get play. I would worry whether we'd get much play if we.
This might sound weird, but I've gotten to the point where I'm reluctant to play a game if I don't think I'm going to get to play it twice. Like if it's an experiential game, that's something different. Like if it's a LARP or something where it's, just the experience of playing it and it's not really, or a story game, something like that. Okay, that's different. But if it's a strategy game, one where I want to make decisions, I want to ideally play it with the same people twice.
Yes. I quite like the idea I like the idea that in our group we might occasionally just play one game 3 or 4 times in a row almost, but
nice.
Nobody else seems to like that idea.
So to try and crack on, so we do finish like in a reasonable amount of time. For me, recent highlights are, of course, the Kickstarter that is still going. If you haven't checked it out yet, then please do check it out. Let me post the link into the comments.
How's it going? How's it going?
It's going okay. Like, I mean, let me move that up and get rid of that. So 256 backers, that's a really good number. It's probably going to end up as my second biggest Kickstarter in terms of backers. So for reference, my previous most backed Kickstarter as of the start of last year was 280. And I will be surprised with 35 hours to go if this doesn't go above that. It is marginally disappointing after the amazing success of a game about wee whimsical creatures and trying to identify them after someone makes noises. That went to like 850 backers, which is just phenomenal. And I do have to do a post-mortem at some point and really drill into why one did so much better than the other. Was it that people liked the diversity of creatures? Because here, intentionally, the creatures are often very similar, so that you pick up two things with chicken legs, for example, you can see the little cat creature and the no-eyed creature with chicken legs. If you pick them up next to one another, that would be a foul. You would lose the game because they're not totally different. Every creature has to be totally different to the one before it. Now, maybe with the wee whimsical creatures, when I was like, oh wow, look at all this creativity, maybe people engaged with that. Maybe just the noises, people engage with that more than grabbing and counting. That sounds more exciting. Making noises, oh, never seen that before in a game. And I think that, yeah, there's other things that could be said as well. Like the previous one, it worked online. And the other thing that I realize is that with even the £1 print and play, I've got some big adverts on it, but I'm not sure if if there's a lot of overlap between the people who are willing to print and play and the people who enjoy party games. Because it kind of feels like, especially the people who enjoy party games might just want to, at most, print something, but then not do any cutting.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And so,
well, I've just backed it. I have a copy of the turnips version because I played this fantastic game at Airecon, and I got myself a turnips version, which is great.
Oh, the first edition.
Yes, I thought I'd get in right at the bottom there and get the game that will be sought after, 5 years from now. People won't be able to get a first edition. So I mean,
people still sometimes ask me and plead for a copy of In a Bind. True story.
Yeah. I bet. Yeah.
And I mean, it's only going, fingers crossed, like it will grow as time goes on. But honestly, this has been the bulk of my energy right now. I have managed to go out and replace a bike. For regular viewers, you will know that it got stolen. I was really annoyed. I have gotten a new one. It's like, yeah, we'll see how that serves me. I'm planning to maybe have a long cycle to go near my old place of residence tonight. Because even though I have to do Kickstarter stuff, I think it's important to give yourself time to be away from the screen, to go away and maybe play some board games or something. I didn't have insurance. I think that with the bicycle, there's nowhere for the bicycle to be inside the house. I live up 9 flights of stairs. Chris is nodding, so it is 9 flights of stairs.
9 flights, 4 levels.
4 levels. And so it wouldn't be easy to bring the bike up every time that I wanted to go out. But yeah, and I think also people would probably get annoyed with me if I did that, because then I would be trailing mud on the carpet, and here it is like a proper carpeted place. Whereas that was one really nice thing about where I used to live, where it was secure and I could just leave that and never worry about it. But here it was fine, and it is a nice area, but last Wednesday I was just an idiot, didn't lock it properly. I was maybe distracted, but yeah, anyway, the point is I have a new bicycle. It has a dynamo, so when you pedal, the light comes on, which is quite cool. so you never need to remember to recharge the front light.
Yes.
And I said, oh, won't someone potentially take off the lights? And then the person was like, oh, no, it's okay. If they snip off the lights, then it's useless to them. It's not like they can just attach it to something else. So that's good. And yeah, it's got a kickstand. It has no stickers on it yet. So we'll see. At some point, I'll kind of have a marriage with my bike and I'll put hundreds or thousands of stickers on it. But yeah, that is the bulk of what I was doing yesterday. Just doing that and promoting it in bits and places. And yeah, but let's go to brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? Let's talk about Airecon. Airecon was a brilliant thing.
It was, yes.
Run by Mark Hook and Ben and Nabil and Rick and people from Travelling Man coming in. I mean, Travelling Man back in the day, they put a lot of funding into it so that Airecon could go from the church in Bradford to this giant, relatively big convention centre in Harrogate. And I remember Airecon 3. Airecon 2 was the first one I went to, but Airecon 3, they were like, oh yeah, we're just using this one hall. And there it was literally just one hall, so you didn't have even the stairs. And I was like, okay, we've got all this space, but we can expand as soon as we need to.
Yeah.
And I've been like, back in the day, like Airecon 2, there were only, I want to say like 3 exhibitors, maybe 4. And I was one of them. So like, I'm proper old school, just my claim to fame. Yeah. And, but yeah, Dave, what do you think about this? What is brilliant about Airecon? And everyone in the comments, obviously we are now talking about Airecon, but feel free to comment, ask questions from like, follow, all that usual stuff. And oh my gosh, a quick hello to Dutch, Yoda, hello, and Liefde, lovely to see you. We're talking about Airecon again with Alan Paull. Alan, what is brilliant about Airecon?
Well, this was my first Airecon, so we had been intending to go in 2020, but that, as one might expect, fell through. So it's my
2020 did happen, but it was a risky thing, and it was up to the individual where to just go.
We decided not to go in 2020, but this time we went. It was it's big. I hadn't realised that it's quite a big place. Harrogate Convention Centre is big, and Airecon takes up a lot of space. But the main striking thing was it is actually really, really friendly. It's a friendly con, a very friendly con. I personally didn't get to play much myself because I was mainly on the stand, but it was a very good friendly con. Lots of people who we knew and lots of new friends we made, and that was the main thing. And actually, I really liked Harrogate. Harrogate's a really nice location for it because there's some good restaurants. One of the things you do need in a con location is some good places to go out and have some meals with people, and we did manage to do that. So yeah, it was. We will pretty much definitely go next year. Very good team they have as well. Team of volunteers who do all the support, setting up and tearing down.
Yoda says Airecon was just awesome, meeting so many friends, playing so many games, beating Dave in Ark Nova. And CD asks, what were you promoting? I mean, for those who don't know, Alan is there from Surprise Terror Games, but what did you actually play or demonstrate from yourself?
Right. We were promoting, I was promoting our Pocket Campaigns games, which is the newly reprinted Cousins War by Dave Mortimer, Ming Voyages, which is Dave Mortimer and myself did it, and then there's my own March of Progress. So there's 3 small box games which we were promoting particularly. We also had Kingmaker on the stand for people who wanted to look at the redeveloped Kingmaker, and we actually played a game of Kingmaker on Saturday as well. So that was good. That was great fun. I enjoyed that a lot. Yeah.
And you had other prototypes, but that was all you actually got played.
Well, I did have the prototype for War of the Three Centuries, which is our next Pocket Campaigns game. I'm really pushing the Pocket Campaigns at the moment, trying to get the message out there about this whole series. It's as a small company, it's one of those things. It's quite difficult to get noticed, but things like Airecon, UK Games Expo, those are our primary methods of doing that, and it worked really well. We had loads of interest in the game. Did loads and loads and loads of demos. So we were pretty busy. I'm not sure if we were as busy as you, Bez, but we were we were pretty busy, and it was good. Yeah, and thoroughly enjoyable.
And so to talk about brilliant things, I mean, if I had to list some brilliant things about Airecon, okay, I'm going to say that I had some brilliant helpers, and all of them got passionate about the games. Steve, who I basically just contacted because one of my helpers, Jason, unfortunately, was unable to come because of personal emergency. I mean, Johan Bryce was unable to come because of personal emergency. And then I reached out. I said, hey, is anyone willing to come? And then Steve had just been let down by another company that I won't name. And Steve was a bit sore about it. When I got in touch, he said, oh, I've basically come to the terms with the fact that I won't be coming. And they seemed a bit sad. And then I contacted him and said, hey, would you like to chat? Would you actually be happier at home or would you be happier at the convention? And he said, oh, no, I'll always be happier at the convention. And it's like, well, why aren't you? And then they said, oh, I think maybe they felt like it was charity or something and they didn't want to take me up on it, if you know what I mean. But for me, it was very much, yes, I want to have another person. I've got a bed, and yes, it means that I'm sleeping on a couch, but I want someone to... Anyway, so I had 3 amazing full-time volunteers, Josie, Daksha, Steve. None of them had played any of my games before. I introduced them, and I'd given Daksha and Josie all the games that, except for a game about drawing creatures, complementing the drawings and complementing the complements, that only was printed the week beforehand. All my other games, I sent them or handed them in the case of Daksha, so they could play and they could learn and they could experience properly. But Steve came not knowing anything, and I do have on my website, I sent to volunteers a little, hey, here's how I would like you to demonstrate these things. Here's the information that you need to be giving at certain times. And everyone had a quick skim of that, said it really helped. I looked at them as they were doing a few games. On Thursday night, after we'd done a quick setup, which was super quick on Thursday nights, we played all the games. I made sure that everyone was easily able to play them. Steve learned everything. We played 3 games of a game about drawing creatures, complementing drawings and complementing the complements. And everyone was super enthusiastic about it at the end. Everyone was just saying, wow, I had so much more fun. Steve was saying, I'm surprised how much fun I had, and I had more fun at your stand than I think I would have had at the original person's stand. And I think the thing is, if you're at a convention and you're demonstrating really short games, by which I mean, okay, for sure 5-minute games, but even if a game is half an hour, if it's a half-hour game, you're probably going to finish it. Whereas at least I would, in the form of a demo, that's how I would do it. But if I were to do Seize the Power, I would not expect my helpers to actually play that game. I would expect them to maybe oversee it, run... If I had a big a normal game, like I would maybe do a couple of turns, and that's not as fun as a helper. You don't get to actually engage. You don't... And I had so many giveaways. Like it was, everyone, this is your work. Just give away a sticker to everyone who's passing by. I've got like hundreds of stickers, hundreds of little cards that say you are brilliant. And if someone seems brilliant, then give them it. If someone's doing cosplay, give them one of these little cosplay cards. And if someone... And there was a bit of a party atmosphere, and everyone really got into it. And it was just lovely. And I'm doing my stretching because the robot reminds me to. But it was lovely having that enthusiasm. That was my #1 highlight of Airecon, the enthusiasm of everyone. Second highlight, getting everyone playing Yogi Stock Guru. That went really well. I had local celebrity Kim Joy playing, and the baker from the Great British Bake Off, and then Kim Joy and Nabil from Travelling Man were playing, and there were about 11 of us. I think the more people that there are, the more chaotic it will be. I'm unsure whether to run it again for UK Games Expo, but I kind of feel like I should say, will you actually be here for UK Games Expo? Because I don't need to do it for every single convention, and maybe leave it until UK Games Expo 2023. That feels like a viable thing to do, because you don't have
maybe.
to, but I don't know. But that went really well. The complimenting, people really got into it. The most cynical person, Ian Brocklebank, on day 3, they were saying, yeah, I would not have chosen to play this game. Paula Denning and Matthew Jude invited me to play, and I was like, yeah, I want to play a game with them. And I sat down, like I came back with my lunch, and I sat down and watched this game whilst one of my helpers was demoing it towards the tail end. And everyone was really into it. And Ian just paused it and said, look, I know this is completely fake and insincere, but I can't help but smile. And I'm really happy that actress said, no, it's not insincere. And that's the thing. When people are told that you have to give a compliment, sure, you could just say, Alan, you've got the most beautiful eyelashes that I've ever seen. But if I said that, that wouldn't be truthful, sorry to say. I'm not saying that they're bad eyelashes, but, it's...
I've never been complimented on my eyelashes, to be fair. So,
but like, if I were told you have to compliment Alan Paull, I would be like, okay, Alan, you've got me. I really like how you make me smile. It feels good being with you. You've got a lot of skill making games. I feel like, there's a lot of things that I could compliment you on. You've got a good work ethic. You actually get stuff done. There's a lot to admire. And I just think that the complimenting, people do search for something genuine. And
yes, I think that's... Yes, it's much easier to search for something genuine, isn't it? I think, than just inventing something, yeah.
And hello, Joseph, who says, just popping in, was lovely to meet you, and I love the game about complimenting drawings and complimenting compliments. I'm glad to hear that. And
thank you for the compliment. It's a very nice compliment. I most appreciate it.
Thank you for complimenting my compliment, Alan. And those were my highlights. Also, I did not manage to make your meal on Saturday, sadly. I did go to Martin's event on Saturday night, which was lovely, and I did see the Andrew, Jenny, Harmon.
Yeah.
Harmon, that's the surname I was looking for. I saw the Harmons, and I was out with the Harmons, and then we had someone else join us, and we played a few games. We played 2 games. We played Mathflux, which I had actually gotten off the Ukraine table. Never played it. I'll probably play it once more and then get rid of it, to be honest. But
we had quite a riotous Saturday night, actually, at the Mykonos Greek restaurant. It's really good food, and we had 10 of us. There was a lot of chit chat and a lot of humor, and it was a bit, riotous.
CD, nice. Thank you for popping in, and lovely to see you, and have a wonderful sleep. So those are some brilliant things about Airecon. Alan, would you like to say anything that you did not feel good about for Airecon?
Well, I mean, I have to raise the COVID thing. I don't think that they were insisting on lateral flow tests for attending Airecon. I think everybody had to have COVID passes or a lateral flow test, but they didn't insist on lateral flow tests, and that was, I think, there was quite a lot of people afterwards said they had COVID or they had positive tests, so that was a little bit disappointing. We had no problem at UK Games Expo last year, and GridCon also. They were requiring people to have lateral flow tests either every day or every couple of days, I think, and I felt much safer at those events than Airecon. And I was pinged 4 times after Airecon. And we took lateral flow tests every day up till Sunday, just after Airecon, just to make sure. So we're all negative, which is fine. So I haven't got COVID as far as I know, nor is Charlie. But I know a lot of people did get positive tests after. So that was a bit of a disappointment. But, put that to one side.
No, that is definitely an important thing. And we have to definitely think about how we're going to run real-life events.
Yeah.
Whilst I don't know if we can call it a pandemic, because it has unfortunately been endemic, and we're just in this really bad situation right now. But I don't know what's going to
happen when people have to pay for tests, because then that's going to get a bit.
Oh my gosh!
Isn't it? Which is from April, apparently. From 1st of April.
1st of April, people have to pay for tests apparently.
Yeah.
So we should get some more tests, Chris.
We should definitely get some more tests. Yeah.
Yes, I should start getting tests. Chris has been giving me tests. I've been relying on other people to give me tests. Like Jace, Johan Bryce gave me like 20 tests at UK Games Expo because they got more than they needed for their work.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yes.
But that was probably the only thing, which is not not a huge thing. I think we just accept it. We're in a situation we're just having to accept that COVID might get passed around, aren't we? Really?
I don't want to make this a political thing, but it seems to have been really badly managed by the government, and I'm just going to not say much more than that. You can reply if you want, Alan, but I'm not going to reply to you.
No, that's fine.
Okay, let's carry on. So, Aircon, we had a few questions. Are you willing to get into as a business, going to Airecon, you want to ideally see profits or at least eventual profits? I am going to say that I made a couple of mistakes. Firstly, and most importantly, I booked my accommodation far too close to Airecon. I did not do the due diligence of booking accommodation as soon as I could have. And for that reason, one place for 3 people, it cost us about £150 per night. And that wasn't great. And then I also got another place for the 4th person, and that was like £400, of which they paid half of it because they specifically wanted to be on their own, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
we were lucky because we were staying with friends in York, which admittedly means we had quite a big journey every day, but there and back. But it did mean we saved on hotels and we were able to see our friends in the evening. So that was good.
That is really nice. I mean, we were vastly benefited by the fact that our place was literally about 5 minutes. I want to say maybe 1 minute from the door, but 5 minutes from our stand, because it takes 4 minutes to actually go from the stand to the door. Well,
that's pretty damn good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
That meant that you could literally go over it if you forgot something and then grab a bit of food and come back if you really need to. Of course, the food within the convention was really good.
It was very good. I just had pizza every day, which is...
Why? Why didn't you not have poutine?
I like pizza.
Okay, I mean, I guess if you like it.
Well, I don't get much pizza at home because Charlie doesn't do wheat, you see. So.
Yes.
Or cow's milk dairy cheese. So.
You know, I think that they do have gluten-free rolls, but definitely not the same.
But commercially, you were saying commercially for us. So we saved a lot of money on the hotel. And basically, I wasn't counting the petrol either. So really, because we were coming up to see our friends in York anyway, I kind of discounted that. So really, the commercial for us wasn't. It was fine. You know, if we save on hotels and petrol, we actually slightly more than broke even, which is fine. But then that's ignoring quite a lot of cost.
But the reason that you're able to kind of ignore that cost is because you combined this business trip with this leisure trip, and I think that's a really good way to do it. Like when I go to UK Games Expo, I'm going to have a tiny convention on Monday. I've decided. So it's going to be a very chilled convention. I don't expect anyone to have much energy, but
Can we come?
Sure. Yeah, I guess if you want to stay around in Birmingham for one extra day, and then.
I think we do that. Do we do that anyway? I can't remember if we do that anyway normally.
It's basically just a bunch of people hanging out around the hostel and playing some games together and chatting. So it will be myself and some of my helpers is the plan. For UK Games Expo, I've already booked 12 beds, 2 of which are for Descent games, 10 of which are for me. I am going to be making a questionnaire very soon, and I'm going to actually... if someone actually wants to help me out, and then I probably want them at the stand. But I want to kind of advertise it. I don't want it to be like, oh, you helped me out, I'm going to chase after you. It's like, I'll reach out to you, I'll do some outreach, and if I get 15 people who really want to place at this hostel, then I will have to make some decisions, whether that's based on, you know, the vibe that I get from them when I talk to them, how good they are at demoing, the enthusiasm that they have. Obviously, if you're more extroverted, if you are someone that is going to feel comfortable, you know, talking to random people and bringing them into the stand, that's the key thing. But anyway, so going back to Airecon, because we're getting distracted as we often do, and I'm going to try and finish up within the hour, but I definitely made a loss. I think that next year, this gets into what would I change. I will say that I made a gross profit of about 700 to 800 pounds. That is gross sales. So obviously from that, you've got to subtract the cost of manufacturing. And then even after you've done that, and for a lot of these busy bargain bags, my margin might be fairly low. It might be negligibly more than 50%, which is pretty gosh darn bad. But that's what I was really hoping, was just to get people being, oh, I'm going to buy so much stuff. I did sponsor the Bring and Buy. That was kind of, I guess that's my whimsy budget for the year. That was not a good decision financially. People saw my name, but so many people said, you know what, you sponsoring something or being in the program did far less for you than just having a big red stand. Like,
how do you measure it? That's the problem. How do you measure the value of the sponsorship? That's the difficult one.
The thing is that no one came. I don't think there's anyone who saw that and then said, oh, stuff by Bez, I wonder what they're all about, and slow down, because everyone who was walking past, we automatically gave them stickers, gave them cards. We were really gosh darn good at bringing people in. So I don't think we need that sponsorship based on what we're already doing. And I did spend a lot of money on the stand, and I think that that money and the number of helpers that I had was actually appropriate for what I'm trying to do to get people in. And I did always have at least one table of people playing. And at one point I had 4 groups of people playing across 3 tables. Literally I had to split one of the tables into halves because 3 people.
I mean, yours is a totally different approach from ours, because this was our first Aircon, and we just had the smallest stand that we can meaningfully get away with, just to see what it was going to be like, and no helpers. Well, it was Charlie and myself, so just the 2 of us. Now UK Games Expo will be very different, because we've got a much bigger stand. We're with Triple Ace Games and Chaos Publishing, and
if we talk about what would you change for next year for next Aircon?
I would probably have a bigger stand, and if I do that, I'll have probably at least one helper. I think one person's demo. So I am on the lookout now for people who might be interested in demoing Pocket Campaigns games, particularly.
I think what I would do
for UK Games Expo and for Aircon and possibly Spiel as well, actually.
Personally, for Aircon 2023, I would not sponsor part of it as much as I love it. I don't think I can afford to do that. I think that's the kind of thing for either a smaller company who needs to explode onto the scene because they've got some cash behind them, or a bigger company that has cash to just remind people, oh yeah, good on whatever for sponsoring this thing.
I might sponsor, because I think it's different. I know you pointed to the difference here, because
I've been there every single year.
You draw people into your stand, and you have relatively short games. We find that very difficult, because we've got games which are half an hour to an hour or so. So it's much more difficult. We actually have to teach the games really, and it takes a little while to teach the games. So I would want to get people to come along to our stand to actually sit down and have a demo. So it's not necessarily just hoiking somebody in for 10 minutes. It's really getting somebody who wants to sit down and learn how to play the game, or at least have a demo. And it might be a fairly focused half-hour demo, that kind of thing. So it's a slightly different approach.
Whereas your minimum time is slightly more than my maximum time.
Yeah,
my longest game was 25.
Our minimum demo is probably about 10 minutes.
Okay,
but because we've got 3 or 4 games, we also have
that's the thing. Like my stand is like, I've only got 10 minutes before I need to be at a thing. Yeah. Well, I've got 10 minutes to spare. What do I do? Okay, let's go to Bez's stand and play one, maybe even 2 games. And it's a completely different thing. I would not sponsor. I would definitely book much more ahead of time. Josie was talking about the place we were staying at, said that they might be willing to give us their normal rates rather than the inflated rates, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Because they do inflate the rates as demand increases.
Yeah.
But if we contact them ahead of time, they would not inflate that rate, which I think just booking like 6 months ahead of time will be really good. Yeah. I know some people have even booked already, which at that point you really want to book somewhere that allows you to get your deposit back, because as we've learned in the past 3 years, a lot of things and surprises might happen. There might be another pandemic. Who knows?
Well, I think we're basically having a cancellation option on everything we book now. For us, it was really annoying because the first time we booked a room that wasn't cancelable was the UK Games Expo
2020,
which was cancelled, and that was the first time we thought, but it's so much cheaper, let's just book it without. What could possibly go wrong?
Famous last words.
And we never got that money.
Okay, so let's go to the second half of it.
Yeah.
So what I said is that we would be now comparing the physical and digital crowds.
Online, yes.
So the big difference is obviously the fact that you're not seeing people. I mean, some people work well online, or a bit more introverted. Some people work more in person. And on Sunday, I found myself tired. I was really tired. But then I went in, I saw all the people around me, and I was energized. I now wanted to do things.
You get that adrenaline going when you're on the stand. You get that adrenaline going. And the moment you start doing demos and things, you're back into that zone of getting people interested and talking to people and having a good time and enjoying it, which is great. It's very much. I think the online the offline is much more personal. It's much more. I was going to say intimate, but you know what I mean. I think it was much more. You're able to relate directly to that person, and you've got all those things we were missing in lockdown. You got all that non-verbal interaction that happens that make things fun. Whereas with the Kickstarter, with the crowdfunding, it's online. You have to really drum up enthusiasm somehow, and that requires creating more things that will make people interested through the screen. So you're not able to do it by showing. Well, you can show off the product obviously, but you can't show the physical game. It's much more difficult.
I mean, you can, and board games at their soul. Yes, you can play them online. Yes, you can read the rules. You can look at the art. You can watch a video of someone else playing. But you can even, in the case of a game about wee whimsical creatures and trying to identify them after some makes noises, you could play with people on a stream.
You can easily see that people are engaged.
That's not the core of what a board game is. The core of a board game very much is people on the table around, and yes, we get into the sense of, yes, it's good to have games that people can play remotely for accessibility reasons. That's a really good thing. But if we are primarily focusing our products, our games, on bringing people together, then it makes most sense when people can see what's going on when they're together.
I think as a designer and as a retailer as well, if you like, I don't really see us as a retailer, but we do retail at conventions, obviously. You're getting feedback straight from people. If you're doing a demo and if you're doing a demo and it's going flat, oh, I've cocked that up a bit and I'll change. Or if
it's a lot more like performance art.
Yeah, it's much more like that. Yes, I mean, and also you've got those serendipitous moments, because I remember a really good moment we had at Aircon was a lady had come along. She had been going to come to the convention with her son, but her son was ill, so couldn't make it. Just here she was on her own, not knowing anybody, not knowing anything about what the heck was going on, and we were in that position relatively close to the entrance. So the first stand she came to was us, and she says, "I'm on my own. I don't know what I'm doing here. What do I do?" And so I sat her down and was demoing Cousins War to her. We played. She insisted in the end. We played a full game of Cousins War, which is great fun. And I was able to recommend go down, have a chat with the gaming rules people. That's what they're for. And that just can't happen on a Kickstarter or online. It's really that personal interaction, which I don't know, you can feed off kind of. You can actually get an appreciation of what other people want. The
skills are very different. I mean, look, Jamie Stegmaier is famously, back in the day, was brilliant at Kickstarter. Obviously, they've left that for now doing direct to distributor stuff. And but Jamie famously never really liked going to conventions. That was not part of their business strategy. Whereas, and I do think that doing online stuff is a lot more scalable. It's something that you're more likely to reach those thousands of people. And I think it depends, like, what are you aiming for? And ideally, you want to bring both things in. And I could definitely get better at the online marketing, at showing the stuff, at, drumming up the reviewers. You also need some, let's be honest, financial capital behind that to get really whizzy artwork, to get some, Facebook advertising, to get all this like stuff that people see, to ask previewers and people who teach the rules to get those things made before the game. And it's interesting because Stonemaier is now at the point where they don't give review copies entirely for free anymore. It's actually, hey, if you want this review copy, you pay for the shipping. And so it is kind of free, but then it is still, okay, you need to pay maybe 20 quid, admittedly, to get these two games. That is like the shipping cost, that's fair enough. But it is just worth noting. And that's interesting because, anyway, they've kind of reached a point, like that's not something that somewhat a smaller company could get away with.
No.
They've reached a point where they are able to kind of, a reviewer will say, yeah, I need to review this game. It's going to get more people on my page. People want to hear what I have to say about it. Whereas, yeah, for me, it's really interesting because the cost of my games is almost nothing, deliberately, with the Bezzy bargain bags. And I've actually had a reviewer say to me, oh, I would rather just buy your game, and then I don't have to explain that it was a gift, because then we get into the whole issue of conflict of interest. So I'm just going to give you the £5. And it's like, okay, if that's genuinely what's easier for you, then go for that.
I think I have found that with a lot of reviewers, when they know you're a relatively small company, they are much more willing to either buy or have a reduced cost copy, rather than they know the situation with smaller companies.
But for smaller reviewers, it's also an obligation for them. For example, Oliver Kina, I did give them a couple of copies of a game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different and counting your beetroots. And Oliver loved it and put in a really good review, both a positive review and a fairly thorough review as well. Last weekend, was able to play it a good few times over the course of a week. It is a very short game. And apparently this is one of very few games that their daughter was able to enjoy. And that's lovely to read. Conversely, when it came to a game about drawing creatures, complementing drawings and complementing the complements, Oliver was saying, no, I'm not going to take this because I'm aware when you take a review copy, it is an obligation as a reviewer. You then have to do that thing. And maybe you just don't want that stress. Maybe you don't want to, maybe you think, I might be able to play it, I might not, let me say no. I don't want that stress of potentially letting someone else down. But absolutely, it is worth it, especially when I've done a print run of 100. The entire plan behind that is to use a good portion of those to get reviews and things out there before the next one. We have gotten to the end of the hour. It feels like we both prefer the real-time interaction and face-to-face interaction at a convention, but we're both aware that you need to do digital stuff. Do you have anything else that you would like to say about that?
I think that one advantage you do have with the online and with kind of conventional retail is that you can work with other publishing partners. So whereas you can't, it's not so easy on a stand. I do have a joint stand with Triple Ace Games and Chaos Publishing at UK Games Expo, but we're still selling our stuff separately. Whereas if we've got co-publishing deals and things, you can do that online and you can pool skills. So with crowdfunding, Two Tomatoes are really skilled at Kickstarter, because that's what they do. Most of their games, I think, are Kickstarted. So we're able to use that expertise to help us with our joint campaigns, and that is that's a major bonus for that commercial.
I think that's a really interesting similarity and parallel that we can draw between everything that we're doing, where it's together we can do better things. Like
yeah. Mind you, with my stand at UK Games Expo, Triple Ace, run by Robin Elliott. Robin is a really good 3D designer, 3D mechanic engineer designer guy. That's what he does. So he can make things. He can make things for the stand. So there's quite a lot of extra skill there, which we're kind of. I'm always saying we're kind of leeching off his skill, which is great. I mean,
exactly. So, like, whether you're at a convention, whether you're in the process of creating a game, whether you're at the process of doing it on Kickstarter, or whatever you're doing, it feels like you want to say, okay, what are your shortfalls? What are the things that you're not so good at? And get other people to do them. And also, it's about having the right people for the right job. Like, when I have helpers, I want to make sure that they are enthusiastic, that they are able to, and if someone's a little bit uncomfortable with drawing people in, but are really, really good at demoing, then I might still have them at the stand and at UK Games Expo, because in theory they might not have to do that. Just get someone else to kind of feed them people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but we need people who are really good at demoing the games and engaging people in demoing the games. That's what we need.
But at this point, question of the day. It's a little question before we go on our way. So I tried to ask a question at the end of each show, which is vaguely related to the topic. I don't have one off the top of my head.
Does anybody else have a question of the day then?
My question is going to be, what is the next convention you're going to go to? Yeah, that's my question.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, it's Bacon.
Oh,
Bacon down in Exeter,
which sounds a bit like bacon.
Sounds a bit like bacon, but actually is not bacon. Although there is bacon at the hotel,
but it's not obligatory bacon.
Yeah, and that is the weekend after Easter, and we're actually combining that with a holiday as well. So we're going because it's Exeter. we're slightly more than halfway to Cornwall, so we thought we'd nip down to Cornwall
And
as
when
well.
is that?
BayCon is the weekend after Easter. I'm looking at my
May?
calendar. April. Oh, April. Yeah, it's.
Also, it would be 23rd and 24th.
That's right, 23rd and 24th. I think
Okay.
it actually it starts. It's one of those conventions. It's only playing. We're not selling. It's only well, we may sell the odd thing here and there, but it's playing. It's one we've done for decades at BayCon, and we're going to Cornwall immediately after that, down to
That sounds lovely.
the Eden Project and things like that. So that I'm really looking forward to that, because that's a proper holiday. I think we're away for about a week, more than a week actually.
I think the next convention that I'm at, I don't know whether you'd call it a convention necessarily, but I'm going to, is Now Play This, which is in London the weekend after. So it's officially the 8th, 9th, and 10th of April. I am going to be attending a design camp, which is kind of like a game jam running for 1 week from the 2nd to the 7th.
Wow.
And then some of the things that we make during this game jam is going to be exhibited. But also Seize the Power by Tiz Creel and myself is going to be on exhibition. But over I actually have a lot to do over the next few weeks. It's kind of scary. I have to finish this Kickstarter. I have to sort that out. I have to write an entire LARP by the end of the month, at least the first draft of it.
Oh my god!
And I've got to redesign Seize the Power to make it from a game that typically takes 2 hours to a game that typically takes 30 to 60 minutes.
We better stop, Bez. We better stop. You've got so much to do.
So, yeah, what we're going to do is try and just have, like, rather than 5 rounds, make it almost like you're teleported into the middle of the game and then it finishes before the end. So, and we'll maybe take out one of the mechanisms, but there'll be a little designer note say, by the way, what you've just played is a small part of what we imagined the full game being. Yeah. But yes, Now Play This. I am super excited about that. And Vivan, lovely to see you. If you are at London as well, then I heartily recommend you coming also to Now Play This.
Are those my micro war games you've got?
I assume that Vivan is talking about the Pocket Campaign games.
Great, excellent, good.
So, over to you. What are you up to? You can share, but only if you want to. So, what are you up to? Something fun, something frivolous, something super serious? I am going to, be doing, just more Kickstarter-y stuff, more stuff to do, and I do actually, have a brand new game. I'm going to try to, over the next couple of days, today and tomorrow, I'm going to make a fresh prototype to play on Friday, and I might actually cycle over, like I mentioned earlier, to play some games tonight, because I need to get out of the house and actually interact with other people and do some exercise and keep myself healthy and happy. As much as it's tempting to do the Kickstarter and nothing else, that's not the route to happiness.
No, it isn't. No, for me, I think we're still resting after the kids, so we're still quite tired, a bit sleepy. So we might actually do nothing else, have lots of coffee, and chill. So I think we're allowed to have another day of chill.
Absolutely. You're allowed it. I mean, technically, you're meant to be retired, even though you're kind of staying active, which is
that retirement
really good.
Thing. Yes.
But to recap and wrap up before we finish up, we talked about Airecon. We talked about what a delight it was, whether you've been there since the second one or whether this was your first. Both of us had a lot of good fun. We said that I would personally have the same size of stand, not sponsor, book my places earlier. Alan would have a slightly bigger stand, maybe sponsor, and continue, combining it with a personal holiday, which is a really nice way to do things. Like when I go to Dicini, I make sure that on the Sunday, I give myself time to have a really nice meal. And then on the Saturday, I could, in theory, get up really early on the Sunday, go there. But it's worth me being rested. It's worth me having a day trip to Norwich, rather than, it's worth having. And then we talked about the brilliant things how it is very much a gaming convention. I guess we didn't talk about from a publisher. I do think that the number of attendees, it's not reflective of how many people will be attending your stand, because let's be honest, there's less traffic in the trade area compared to Dragon Meet, I would say, or certainly it's
not been to Dragon Meet.
I would say it's definitely less, proportionally less that compared to UK Games Expo, like proportionally, if you know what I mean. If if it had a quarter of the attendees, it felt like less than a quarter of the busyness. That's how I felt.
Right. Yes, I think that's right. I mean, I think I was about as busy as I thought I would be at Aircon, which was, we weren't completely overwhelmed. We did have patches where nobody was around, but mostly we were reasonably busy. So I was kind of happy with that, because it is a playing. I mean, it's an open gaming convention.
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely, and it is a lovely vibe. There's great events.
It is. Yeah.
And so, if you want to check me out, I am Stuff by Bez everywhere, and I will just send the link one more time to check out my Kickstarter if you haven't already. At this point, you know, I've been talking about it every day for a week.
Yes, so it's great. The game. If you haven't played creatures, the quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different, and getting your vegetables, then do. It's really good. It's fun. It's fun. It's only £5. Goodness, it's great.
And if you want to,
it's gone up. It's gone up during the show. It has gone up during the show.
Yes, it has. Thank you very much, Alan. So, if you want to check out Alan Paull, Alan, where do you like to be found?
Well, I'm mostly on Alan at surprisedaygames.co.uk or Alan at alanpaull.co.uk. So I'm mostly on email, but I'm also on Facebook and Twitter occasionally. And technically speaking, I'm on Instagram, but I don't think I've ever done anything on Instagram. And I'm on Board Game Geek as Alan Paull.
So please check us out. And for now, everyone, thank you for watching. Share, spread the word. Thank you, everyone who dropped in. Vivan, Joseph, Kelly, Leafda, Aqua, Yoda, CD, who's now hopefully sound asleep. And of course, Timmy, if you're still watching. It's been lovely to have you. And most importantly, thank you, Alan, for joining in.
Thank you, Bez, for inviting me. It's always
fun. And for now, there is only one thing left to say, which is bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for so long. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. And bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.